Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope you're enjoying the weekend so far. This is kind of a last minute thing that I put together. So, gonna let some people arrive here. But good morning. How's everybody's week been going so far? Yeah, a lot of craziness happening this week, but I'm trying to get a lot of stuff done, trying to get ahead of myself. I am working on all of the videos for March right now. So as of yesterday, I finished the majority of March's videos, but I actually have a very special challenge to give everybody with Dead Last. As you guys know, I like to do these kind of like periodic things where I ask all of YouTube to send me rosters and lists, and we're going to talk about one of those today. I'll just let a little bit more time go past here. Sorry, I'm being yelled at. Being yelled at by a cat. But a couple of things really quick before I get into the meat of what I want to discuss. The first thing that I want to bring up is I want to thank all of you guys that have already ordered the 80s Project book. It's very heavy, as you can tell. Thank you guys for very much who have already ordered the book. I appreciate it. I do want to let everybody know that it's apparently taking longer than I thought. I was under the impression that I would have them by now. But I guess there was a slight hold up at the printing press, and they are taking longer than they told me that they would take to print and ship. So if you guys ordered one, I apologize that it has not shipped yet. I had expected them to already be out, but I have not gotten them yet. So if you will please be a little bit patient with me as I wait for them to arrive. They do look really cool, though. So I can tell you when they do arrive, you'll be very happy because it looks pretty awesome. So that is going on. I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers that they will be done shortly afterwards. Apparently, the printing presses that they have internationally have not had the same issue because some people that have ordered the books that were in the UK that ordered it when I did the live stream, they've already gotten theirs. So apparently they are quicker overseas. So I don't know what's up with that, but there you go. Just one of the slight things that happened. Also, it just fell to the ground because I knocked it down there. There are still Last Amityville movie Blu-rays left as well at SRS. Just bringing that up because it fell to the ground. Yeah. So here's this is what I want to do. This is the challenge. So you guys watching this live and also people picking it up afterwards, I've got a mission that I want to do for Dead Last, a challenge. I know that in December we did a challenge where I asked you guys to rank up the first movies versus the remakes of what I consider to be some of the 5 bigger franchises in horror. And part of that really got me thinking about what are the biggest franchises in horror and what are the most loved horror franchises. And I think everyone can agree. I don't think that there's any argument that the big 3 are always going to be Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't think that there's anyone out there that will argue that those 3 are not the biggest franchises in horror. But then what about after that? What are the biggest ones beyond those 3? I know when I did the remake challenge, I went with some of the more popular ones that I know of that actually had remakes, which is why I went with Child's Play and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because those remakes were rather big. But here's what I'd like to do. This is the challenge we're going to do. We're going to actually find out what are the most popular and beloved franchises outside of the big 3. And this is and Joe just asked a question, and I'll break it down, some of the qualifications and qualifiers in a minute here. What I want you guys to do is I want you to, there we go, write me off a list, okay? I just want you to list off your 10 favorite franchises, okay? Some of the things I'd like you to consider, it could be possibly like, again, the franchise that you enjoy watching the most. Now, for example, we're not going to include the top 3. So these do not include Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. Those 3 are just assumed to be the biggest 3. So those 3 will not be on your lists. So just list out your 10 favorite franchises outside of that. But again, consider franchises. For example, I love Halloween. I love the movie Halloween. I do not like the franchise Halloween. Like, I just want to just let me watch the first movie, and I'm cool. But there's those franchises where you sit down and you like watching a lot of. It's like you'll sit down and you'll watch all of them. Like, if you like the Saw movies, do you just watch like one of the Saw movies, or do you like to watch kind of all of them? It's kind of the ones that you just get the most enjoyment out of. These are just your personal feelings on it, okay? And again, if I have no way of like checking this or like kind of giving any sort of like follow-up on it. So if you are putting down a franchise that you only like 1 or 2 of the movies of, I don't know. And that's not up to me to decide. But if you decide that liking one movie from a franchise is enough for you to say that you love that franchise, then that's cool. This is your list. I'm not going to tell you how to make your list. It's your list. So what you're going to do, this is the process. Here's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to write down your 10 favorite horror franchises that are not the big 3. Write them down. Then I want you to take those 10 and I want you to score them. Now, I don't want you to do it like, I want you to do this a little bit differently than we normally do, because normally you would say my favorite is number 1, my second favorite is number 2, my third favorite is number 3, blah, 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 blah. All you're going to do is you're going to award them points. So the one that you think is the best, your favorite, that's your 10-pointer. It gets the full 10 points. Your second favorite, that's going to be 9 points. Your least favorite of your 10 favorites, that's the one that gets 1 point. Okay. The object of this in the end is to see which of these franchises gets the most points, right? So if like 15 people have, say, Phantasm, but it's their number 1, right? But then 2 people have, let's just say, Leprechaun as their 10-pointer, then that's going to score higher. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see in play. So again, you're going to list out your 10 favorite horror franchises that are not the big 3, and then score them with your top scoring franchise being 10 points, down to 1 point being your least favorite of your favorites. So here's what's going to be, because I'm already seeing some questions about like what is a franchise and blah, 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 blah. Again, I don't have any way to kind of hold you to what a franchise is. I'm going to just give some general recommendations. So the first recommendation is, my personal consideration for this channel is that a franchise is 3 movies or more. That can include spin-offs, that can include remakes, whatever. It's basically, if there are 3 or more movies of it, it's a franchise. So, for example, My Bloody Valentine, which is just an original and a remake, to me, that's not a franchise. That's just a single movie that has a remake. It never made it into a franchise. Tremors, definitely a franchise. You can go into something like Terror Train, which has an original movie, a remake, and that remake has a sequel, so it is now 3 movies. So in my mind, that has now turned into a franchise. this is not a hard and fast rule. This is just sort of what I'm saying about it. But yeah, absolutely. And again, things that sort of have a spiritual connection, I would not include. So, for example, I would not include John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. I wouldn't include that. I'm on the fence about whether or not to include the Fulci Gates of Hell trilogy, because again, that's not really a franchise. They're just 3 movies that have a thematic link. So I don't know if I would consider that. But again, if you want to consider it, you can put it on your list. I'm not going to say you can't. Hammer Frankenstein would definitely be a franchise. So would Universal Frankenstein. Any of those things would be considered a franchise because they are multiple movies. Candyman absolutely would be considered a franchise. Yeah, so again, it's basically that. Now, if you include something on your list that is not what I would generally consider a franchise, I'm not going to like cross it off and be like, well, no, that doesn't score. All I'm going to say is it's probably not going to end up on the master list because you're probably like, if you're going to actually put one of my favorite horror franchises is Police Academy. Haha. I'm going to get a laugh out of it and I'm going to think, oh, that's pretty funny. But it's not going to make it on the list because you're going to be the only person that's going to vote for Police Academy. If you're going to put down Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is just one movie and not a franchise, then yes, you're going to have it on your list, but it's not going to end up on the full roster because again, it is not an actual franchise. So you're probably going to be the only person that votes for it. So it will not be on that list. What you're going to do with that list is then you're going to email it to me at themovietimelinesguy@gmail.com, which is just my regular email address. It's just, I'll put it in the chat. It's pretty simple. If you've never emailed me there before, it is just themovietimelinesguy@gmail.com. All you do, email it there. There's a rather short time frame here because I'm only doing this until Friday. So there's less than a week to send me those rosters. All you got to do, it's a pretty simple thing that you don't have to, there's no movies required to watch or anything like that. This is just you saying, these are the franchises I love. If for some reason that you don't have 10, if you only have like 4 or 5, that's fine. Just make sure that you score them still the same way. Like it's like, say you have 5 on there, just make sure that your favorite is 10 points, your second favorite is 9 points, 8 points. So you just won't have the 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever pointers. But try to come up with 10 if you can. Just makes it a little bit easier for me in terms of scoring. And again, when this video goes up, please don't put your lists in the comments down below the video. Please send them to the email. I will not count the ones that are in the comments. It's just too hard for me to keep track of. When they're in my emails, I put them into a specific folder so I can keep them all together. Makes it very easy for me to keep everything all in one place. When there's some that are in the chat, when there's some that are in the comments, I can't keep everything together in one place. So those things often just get lost and discarded. So if you do want your vote to count, you'll just send an email of it to themovietimelinesguy@gmail.com. So yeah, I think this should be kind of fun. I'm going to do my own. I haven't really thought about it yet. I think I know what some of my top ones are, but I haven't really figured out the ones where I'm going to do it. There's a couple of questions we have here. What about the sequels that are in name-only franchise like La Casa? I would not, myself, I wouldn't count that because, again, that's not really a franchise. It's more of an umbrella that people are folding something under, where it's, that was never intended to be an actual franchise. But, again, if you put it down on your roster, that's up to you. You can do that, but you may be the only one on there that has it on there. So probably it's not going to get counted, but yes, and absolutely Guinea Pig would absolutely count as a franchise because that is a specific numbered series, even though it is an anthology-ish kind of a series. Anthology series will count when they are like, specifically made to be that particular thing, like the House movies. Like House would count as a franchise because they were movies that were generally made to be House, even though House 3 doesn't technically exist. But yeah, so that is the thing. And John Strada, can we email you anytime? You can email me anytime you want for whatever reason. My email is always open, and I read every email. So I have some people that email me some rather random things, and I'm okay with it. So yes, you can email me whatever. I'm pretty open right there. And yeah, so just send that email to the movietimelinesguy@gmail.com, and there you go. I will accept these until Friday, which is March 1st, I believe, is the date on that. Let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure. Yes, Friday is March 1st. Is the day that I will cut it off. And then that video, I'll have to compile that video, do all the numbering, do all the writing and whatever. That video will go up in late March. I think it'll go up at the ending of March. So working on that. It's going to go up right around the same time as the other Dead Last that we're doing on Patreon, which is Lucio Fulci movies. So if you're worried about the Gates of Hell trilogy not getting love here, it will get some love when we do the Fulci Patreon Dead Last, which everyone is working on right now. Which, if you are a member of the Patreon, in case you didn't see the reminder, those are also due on Friday, March 1st. So I'll be working on 2 different Dead Last episodes at the same time. So I thought this would be kind of fun. I'm really curious to see what franchises people love. I'm actually really curious to see which of the ones that are sort of outside of the beaten path that people get a real kick out of. Which are the ones that somebody, may not be as quick to love. I know that like Eric Joe Noyes here, I will also be sharing that love of Phantasm. And is that an Einstürz on the Neu button thing I see there? Yes, I believe it is. Definitely looking for some good ones there. Lads Lounge says Demons and Demoni. That's a tricky one because, again, technically only 2 movies. So like kind of doesn't count as a franchise, I guess. But there sort of is a third one. It's just not called Demons 3. And then you have all those other not Demons movies that are Demons movies. So that's a weird one because that's like the La Casa series. It's a franchise that's not really a franchise. So that one's a little bit tricky in terms of that. But yeah, so it would be, I would myself personally, under my own rules that I have decided for myself in terms of what a franchise is, I probably wouldn't have Demons in there. But again, this is up to you guys. I'm not like gonna, if you have it down, it's not like I'm gonna cross it off and be like, no, that doesn't count. It just will probably not end up in the final list because it will not really hit the criteria that we're looking for. Any other questions about what we're doing on this? Any other questions about what movies would or wouldn't be up there, or I don't know, any other questions in general about some stuff that's coming up? There is some good stuff coming your way very, very shortly. I know Monday there's a cool video that is another Dead Last that we're doing about found footage movies that was interesting because some people love found footage and other people do not at all. But yes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Child's Play are in. The only 3 that are not included, the only 3 that will not be included are Friday the 13th, Halloween. Oh, I just activated a thumbs up. And Nightmare on Elm Street. Those are the only 3 that are not included. Everything else is fair game. In the video that I did before, I posited that Child's Play and Texas Chainsaw Massacre would likely be one of the other big ones. So let's find out. Let's find out if you guys feel as if those are outside of the big 3. Those are the biggest one, or what it is. what isn't. Return of the Living Dead, absolutely. I mean, there's 5 movies, even though those last 2 movies don't really feel like they are a part of it. It counts. It counts. But they are loosely tied. But that is absolutely. And even though, and again, even though they were not necessarily, and again, in terms of a franchise, things that are not necessarily tied together, even though they are released under that title with the intention of it, then yeah, I'd kind of consider that. Whereas something like La Casa was about taking movies that were made with zero intention of being a part of that franchise and then just throwing the name on there, that was not part of it. Whereas Return of the Living Dead 4 and 5 were actually made to be Return of the Living Dead movies. So Joshua asked about Italian horror Dead Last been done yet? Not really, because the Italian movies, it's such a vast field. Whenever I try to do Dead Last lists, I try to narrow the focus down a little bit instead of being so broad and wide. So I try to focus that umbrella a little bit, where I myself would like it to be, instead of doing like Italian horror, we've already done an Argento one, we're doing a Fulci one. I'd like it more to do that kind of smaller scale thing and focus on something. Did I get your email? I got, I'm not sure. I don't know if that. So far, I've only gotten one email so far. I don't know if that one is yours or not. It says DAA, so I don't know if that was yours. But again, I'll put it down here. In case you need the email again. It's just simply the movie timelines guy at gmail.com. Yeah, Italian cannibal movies. Yeah, that would be something that I would do to kind of narrow that focus down a little bit. Can't wait for the Fulci Dead Last. That was one. Watching those movies was one of the most enjoyable lists that we've done for a Dead Last. I love Fulci movies. They're so much fun. Even when they're not good, they are a blast. They're just a blast. Blind Dead series, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, those are all movies made to be Blind Dead movies. So the Blind Dead movies would absolutely be a franchise, and a cool franchise too. So the Laszlo says we're sending you a list of our favorite franchise movies, not mainstream. Is it? So yeah, it's basically just, and again, for people that have just joined in, just to recap what I'm asking you to do. And again, this will be on the video. The video will be posted up afterwards. So if you're not on the live, you'll see this afterwards. All you have to do, we're trying to decide which of the horror franchises are the best outside of the big 3. So we're going to not include Friday the 13th. We're going to not include Halloween. And we're going to not include Nightmare on Elm Street. Those 3 are not included. Every other franchise is included. All you're going to do, write down your 10 favorite horror franchises, and then you're going to rank them. But you're going to give your favorite one a full 10 points, and then your second favorite 9 points, and then the least favorite of your favorites will just be 1 point. So again, the franchise with the most points at the ending of this will be the winner. We're not going to do. You don't want to do something like Clive Barker movies. You want to try to choose a Clive Barker franchise. Because again, like the filmmaker itself is not necessarily the franchise, whereas a franchise from that filmmaker would be more what I'm looking for. So from Clive Barker, you would probably want more something along the lines of obviously Hellraiser or whatever like that, outside of the individual things. So John Strada wants to see some more mini timeline mania. There is some coming, but not for a while. I actually don't have any slated for a little while longer. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. If there's any other questions, otherwise I'll be wrapping this up and closing it out. So, and letting everybody go enjoy their weekend. But yeah, if there's any other questions about about what we're doing, how to do it, or the methodology, let me know. Otherwise, I will still be answering questions about it in the comments after this video just goes up and posting. And yeah, otherwise there. So Josh said about the Hotel Inferno trilogy. And yes, oh man, I did that last year in that big mega timeline video. Yes, that's an interesting one. All right. Well, I think that's about it. So send me those lists. Send them to the movietimelinesguy@gmail.com. Should be a pretty easy one to put together. I think we all kind of know what our favorite ones are, right? So send me that, and I'll see you shortly. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.